Losing the hierarchy from the military going into civilian life is extremely difficult. We train for years to go to combat, and you get really 10 days in the military to transition to civilian life.
It was difficult to leave my military identity behind. When I got out after 6 years of service, I was like, oh, you know, I'm done, I know what I'm going to do next. However, 2 months after I got out, I went back and knocked on their door and said, can I come back? Because, you know, after being a sergeant for 6 years, I could walk anywhere. It could be any fort, and you do not have to know me, but you will address me as Sergeant Curiel. When I got out and I went straight into college, I became a hey you. I was just another person. I was just another number. Nobody knew who I was. I'm just another student.
The military in general trains warriors, and the intent is that Monday through Friday or Saturday, Sunday, all day, every day, you are focused on the mission, and on, if you're a leader, you're focused on your soldiers. And in order to do that, many of the things that you need, like immunizations and doctor's visits and things like daycare and other activities for your families, are generally right there on post and very prescriptive.
These young families coming out of the military had been used to the Department of Defense telling them where their doctor was, where their dentist was, which daycare to use. And when they come into Charlotte, it's not a lack of resources, it's the overwhelming number of resources and knowing the difference and how to know where to go for the right things. I think the best thing civilians can do for our veterans is get to know them, is to ask them about their service. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. Don't be afraid to ask things. You know, be respectful. Be mindful that sometimes these things are sensitive, but be open and interested in finding out what that veteran wants to do here in Charlotte. Why'd they move to Charlotte? Find out what they're interested in doing, because it's likely that you may have a friend or a cousin or a neighbor who has that same interest, or who has a yoga studio or a dog training facility that veteran would like to volunteer at or work at or get involved with. So get to know them, because you never know where the commonalities may lie and what can be done to welcome them into the community instead of just saying thanks.
This community is far, far better off with a bunch of veterans here as a functioning part of our community than without them.
I would say the biggest call to action is gathering the community to stand behind their veterans. You know, because these are our sons and daughters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and friends. They're common people. If we're not there for every veteran when they come home, shame on us. That's not up to DOD, that's not up to any government entity. That's up to us, that's up to Charlotte to ensure that they have the success they once had in the military.